Hey guys, Travis again from Top Shelf Vaping. Before we get into the video itself today, just do want to point out, CASA, if you haven't joined or given your testimony to vaping and how it's improved your life health-wise and everyday use-wise and everything, you should definitely go check it out. It's CASAA. Just Google it. You should be able to find it. They're pretty much it's an advocacy group for vaping because vaping is kind of under some danger from the government and everything. The UK just passed a bunch of laws and everything saying that like the most nicotine you can get is like 20 milligrams, and size bottle the biggest is like 10 milliliters. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, but there's like 2 million. I mean, there's a lot of vapors out there. There's only like 200,000 people that's signed up with CASA, so you should definitely get on that. If you like vaping, you want to see it, you want to keep doing it, get on there. I mean, you can keep it anonymous and everything. It's basically just there's a questionnaire asking, how many packs of cigarettes were you smoking before. What do you use now? Are you completely cigarette free? Just general information kind of stuff. But if you are a vapor out there and you have completely set cigarettes down for this healthier alternative, give them your story. I mean, they basically take everybody's stories and then compile it and send it into the government so they can see that this is actually something good and not just something that people are doing as a fad and everything like that. But anyways, that's my little 2 cents on that. You should definitely get on that. Otherwise, this video is about Ego-style batteries. Maybe a lot of you have already moved on from there. Maybe not. Maybe you're just not getting into vaping. However, there are some little tips and tricks that we like to use every day up here. So this video would be great for everybody out there that uses these guys, and maybe you run into an issue. We're not open, or wherever you go may not be open. You need help now. That's what this is for. So we're going to be covering regular little Ego-style batteries, pass-through batteries, and then we've got the spinners and everything. So first thing you need to know is how to turn it on, which isn't a big deal, but most people know. But just in case, you can it's all pretty standard across any of these batteries. It's pretty much just 5 clicks of the fire button will turn it on. 5 clicks more will turn it off. Now, some of them you may have to click them a little bit faster than others. Some of them you don't have to as much. But just for it as an example, here's a Joytech 650. Okay, if you hit the button, nothing happens, so it's off. So how to turn it on, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You should see it flash at you and everything. That means it's on. I'm not going to hit the fire button because it would burn this tank up, and yeah. So another little tip, let's see. If for some reason you had, say, a short in your atomizer or in the base of your tank, it could kind of send your battery into a protective mode where it won't do anything except for flash at you. What you could do is you could take your tank off, screw it into your charger, and that essentially resets it. So afterwards, if it does it to you again and everything, you kind of know that, hey, I might need to change out my atomizer, or I might need to get a new base for my tank. Either way. But as far as how you turn them on, like I said, it's 5 clicks on, 5 clicks off, and that's across all Ego-style batteries. Now, I have seen some where you only have to click it 3 times, but nonetheless, across the board, X amount of button pushes in succession. Now, like I said, you might have to do it a little bit quicker, but you'll see it. Next thing. Huge thing that happens, I see all the time, people come into the store, everything. They think, you got your battery, got your tank, that you need to tighten this thing on to the point it stops. Well, that's a big no-no. Maybe not a no-no immediately, but eventually later on down the line when you've done it for, months on it and everything, you're actually going to damage the little 510 pin down on the inside. It's spring loaded, so whenever you take this tank on here and screw it on super tight, what's making contact, if I can get back off, the bottom side on the center of your tank and everything, that's what makes contact to the pin down here. Now, if you're tightening it to the point it stops, you're essentially taking that little pin on the bottom side of your tank and just cramming down that pin that's on the inside of your battery, which eventually will cause your little spring to lose its spring, which you're going to have charging issues, you're going to have firing issues, all sorts of stuff. So as you're screwing it on, you'll kind of feel it kind of make contact. That's okay to leave it there. You might give it like an eighth of a bit more turn, but it's supposed to wobble. You don't want to tighten it down to the point where it's solid, because if you go to put this in your pocket, if I can get it back off, and it doesn't wobble and there's no give in the tank, and you go to sit down, oops, I forgot it in my pocket, that kind of thing, this whole top part of your battery is probably going to come off, and then you might have a paperweight. So don't super tighten it. There's that spill. So, but later on down the line, even if you are, tightening it just enough, not too much, but you're doing the right thing, it may get to the point where an older battery, that spring underneath the little pin here, will lose its spring regardless. So what you can do is what we usually do. Where'd it go? Here we go. So this is what we do. So the first thing you want to do is make sure your battery's off. So hit the button, nothing comes on, you're good to go. We have these little box cutters up here. I mean, use a pocket knife, anything thin. It probably works better with a blade just because it is really thin, but you'll see, I don't know if you'll be able to see it on the camera or not, but the little pin right here, there's a little round circle in the center. And what you want to do is take your knife or whatever tool you're using, first make sure your battery's off, and just kind of set it in the side right next to it. And you don't want to get up underneath it and really just kind of pry open or anything like that. You just want to get it on the side and just kind of wiggle it back and forth. And then kind of start spinning your battery around and just kind of wiggle it, keep wiggling. Eventually you'll see that pin kind of rise back up. And that'll kind of help with, say if it's not charging, or if you go to screw your tank on and it's not firing, that kind of thing. 90% of the issues that we see with Ego style batteries is all because of that pin. And most of it is caused by tightening your tank too much, to be honest, but it's such an easy fix that's a really big key point I wanted to put in this video. So if, say, something like this does happen, you don't have to make a trip all the way up here just for us to go, all right, there you go, and it's done, it's fixed. So that's a good point. Let's see, got a little list down here of talking points. So the other thing, the pass-through batteries, 5 clicks on, 5 clicks off. That's it. Some of them, well, at least the ones that we have. There's some out there that you can change a voltage on and everything, but this video and this channel is about all the products that we carry. So on the Joytech 6, that's not Joytech. Joytech 650. There's no spinner or anything like that on some of the bigger batteries, like say this OLI kit that we have. There's actually a dial that you can spin on bottom, and that's how you adjust it. On this one, however, there are 2 different voltage settings, and it's all done by the fire button. So let me see if it's, I think it was on high earlier. So 1 second. Okay. So you click your button 5 times to turn it on, at least on these Joytechs. So if you hit the button, you should see a white light. Good little phrase that we like to say with these little Joytechs is white is light. So the white button, if you hit it and you see it light up white, that's the light setting. So that's going to be the lower voltage setting. If you do want to change it and go to the higher voltage setting, you're going to get a little bit more out of your tank. I mean, it might be a little bit warmer. A good way to put it, at least this is what I use, people tend to smoke more and vape more or whatever if they're out socializing, if they're out drinking, that kind of thing. White is going to be for everyday use. If you kick it over to the higher voltage setting, that's social mode or beer mode or whatever, drinking mode. But how do you change it on these Joytecs? If you click it 5 times to turn it off, flash at you. So now if you push it, nothing comes on. So how to change it is if you just hold this button down, usually takes like 5 seconds, 6 seconds. Now it flashes kind of amber color at you. So if you click it 5 more times, it goes back to this amber color. So now if you hit the button and it lights up that color, it's going to be the higher voltage setting. If you want to change it back, turn it off and hold down the button for another 5 or 6 seconds. Now it goes back to the white. So that's how you change the voltage on those. As far as the the spinners, I'm going to go ahead and pause it. Okay, so you may notice that it's now dark outside. Had some customers come in, so apologize for the brief time lapse. You won't notice it because you're just watching it at home or on your phone or whatever. It's just going to go, it's day out, boom, it's night. So, anyways, where I was talking about spinners. Now, as far as how it turns on, and even with pass-through batteries, it's all the same. 5 clicks on, 5 clicks off. It's no different. So like I said before, some of them are 3, but it's just button mashing. That's all it is. But spinners are different because they have spinners. So on the bottom, most of them have a little dial. Let's see, there's a Vision V2, there's an Aspire spinner, there's an Ola kit spinner, there's a Vision 1 spinner, there's a Smoke spinner, there's just an Ego C twist spinner, and they all look different, but they all have one thing in common. They all have a dial on the bottom, and that's how you adjust your battery output. So depending on what tank you're running on it, now you can't run like sub-ohm tanks and stuff like that. These batteries just can't handle that much amp pull, if you will. These are meant for like normal style tanks. So you got your Stardust, your VV Novas, your Pro tanks, your Nautilus, your BDC, anything like that. But depending on what coil you have in your tank and what specific tank you have on it, that kind of determines where you need to put this little dial at. Now most of them have little readings on the side of it, like this one, 3.3 volts, 3.8 volts, 4.3, and 4.8 volts. Now, say you've got a Nautilus. Most all of those, the authentic tanks and the authentic coil replacements and everything, have about the same resistance. And generally for that specific tank, you want to run it at about 4.2. You got your Stardust and your eye clears and stuff like that. The Stardust, I would probably run at about 3.8 volts. Everything else is generally around 4.2. Now, if you go lower than that, you're not going to hurt anything, but it's going to take a little bit more time for your coil to heat up and everything. So if you've got it set lower than it needs to be, you may sit there with the button on a little bit longer before it actually heats up and puts off vapor. If you crank it up too high, yeah, you're going to get more out of it and everything, and it's going to fire up immediately, but generally, the higher that you run your battery output, the faster you're going to be going through coils. If you start to notice that you get kind of like a burnt, dry, nasty tasting hit and everything, you may turn it down a little bit, let it sit for about 5 minutes, and try it again. Because most of the time, if you crank it up too high, you're going to end up burning your coil. So, on from that, we're going to go to the charging deck, or the wall outlet over there, and I will show you guys how to screw in the battery, charge it and whatnot, and kind of look for, like battery indicator, charging indicator, see what you're looking for when you're charging. So, we'll be right back. So, now we're talking about charging. I know it's a change of scenery. We went from one side of the room over to the outlet. I don't have an outlet over there. I'd have to squat way down and everything, so not great for filming. Anyways, for charging, these are all the same, with the exception of your pass-through batteries. Now, they can't be charged the same way like the other ones, but the reason why they call them a pass-through, you can plug it up and charge it and use it at the same time. So we'll just walk through the basics though. But as far as your normal batteries and your twist batteries, they charge exactly the same. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your tank off. You got your nice little charging port here. You got your wall adapter. You plug it in. You should see a light. You're good to go. Now you add your little USB cord for your charger, and you should also see a green light. Now, if it's green, it means it's connected. It's ready to go. Now, once you stick your battery to it, if it needs to be charged, that green light will go to a red light. And once it's fully charged, that will go back to a solid green color. So you'll take your battery, take a charger, insert, and give it a screw. Now, like I said, like with your tanks, you don't want to do it super tight or anything like that. Same way with the charging port. Screw it into the point. You see this light change, and you should see your battery light up too. So this is charging. Now some of these chargers, like if you'll notice how it's kind of flickering, it's kind of what you're looking for. Now in my experience and everything, that doesn't happen all the time. But generally if you have your battery attached to it and you see a red light, it means it's charging. Once this battery is completely fully charged, ready to go, this red light will change back to a green light and stay green. That goes for normal Ego style batteries like this, as well as your spinner batteries. Just as a demonstration, same exact thing. Just take your battery, screw it into the charger. You should see it flash and everything. Now it's charging. And like I said, same thing before. Once this is fully charged, this red light will go back to green. Now, most of these spinner batteries, if you notice, this is charging. This light on the battery is also lit up. Now, generally what that means is if the battery on your spinner battery is lit up, it means it's below 50%. So whenever this light goes out, it's going to be above 50%. Even though this is still red, it still needs to charge. Now, if you're on the go and you see this light is off, that's essentially saying, hey, if you need me, you can grab me. Now, I could take this battery off right now and throw a tank on it and use it, but it may not last as long as you would think. So, fully charged, it'll go back to green. Now, this is where we get into some of the other things. With the same port and everything, take off the little USB cord, and take a pass-through cord, plugs up just like any other USB cord does, but now you've got a lot more length to it. So, the reason why they did this, you got your pass-through batteries so you can use them and charge them at the same time, so you're not like attached to the wall. You're not attached to it. So, anyways, pass-through battery works just about the same. Now, if you wanted to, you can even use this regular charger and charge these pass-through batteries. But if you do that, you can't use it because it's attached at the 510 connection. So, I'm going to stick this tank back on here like you would normally do if you were using it. Pass-through batteries, though, there's a little cap. Okay, so we had another time lapse where I went from here to here immediately, but again, you're at home watching this, it's okay. So, I started to talk about how to charge these pass-through batteries. So, on these guys, you can charge them up top, just like any other battery, but it kind of defeats the whole purpose. These guys were made to charge and vape at the same time. So, if you'll notice, there's a little cap on the bottom side of these guys. So what you're going to do is you're going to unscrew the cap. There's a little mini USB port on the bottom side of it. So take your other charging cord out of the same wall adapter. Really doesn't matter as long as it's a USB port. Your car, your computer, your laptop, anything. So take this little guy, plug it in the right way. So you'll plug it in, and you'll see a little red light come on the battery. So that means it's charging. One of the main issues with these batteries is people will just try to jam this in there. If it doesn't fit just right, bring it back to us. It should fit just fine, but every now and then somebody will accidentally drop this. The charging ports are pretty sensitive. I mean, it's just a little piece of plastic, and it's just silicone glued on the inside of it, so it's not the most durable of things. First thing is, don't just try to jam this in there. More than likely, if you do, you're just going to push the charging port in completely, and then you're just limited to charging it the old-fashioned way, which means you can't use it and charge it at the same time. The other thing is, once you have it plugged up and charging, set it on something that, I don't have an example, but set it on something that it's not just going to go rolling off. So if this charger is plugged in and it rolls off and it hits the ground, chances are you're going to break your charging cord. Like I said, they're not the most durable of things. You don't have to baby it, but at the same time, you kind of do. So keep that in mind. Once it's fully charged, that little red light will go out. Unplug it. Keep this cap someplace while you're charging where you're not going to forget it. And as soon as you're done charging it, screw it back on. It keeps dust and everything out of your charging port, so it does kind of help with battery life and everything. Other than that, that's pretty much it for Ego style batteries. I mean, we walked through how to turn it on, how to change the voltage, how to charge it, little tricks and everything like that. Overview though, 5 clicks, on and off, how to change it. You got a little dial on these, on the Ego style batteries. Turn it off, hold the button down. Color of the button should change. You know the voltage has changed. The other thing is, whenever you go to screw your tank on, don't do it super tight. Way too many people do that, and you end up messing up the little pin that's on the inside of these guys. Basically turns your battery into a paperweight, and nobody wants a paperweight for a vape. So, I think that's everything. If you do have any questions, leave it in the comments. I mentioned the CASA thing earlier at the beginning of the video, so I'll add a link on that. Got our Facebook link, our website link, Instagram link, everything I'll include on there. So if you guys have any questions, leave it in the comments. If not, Travis from Top Shelf Vaping,